Hello there. My name is Linda Watson, and welcome to Inspire Me Equine, a season of the podcast Inspire Me Forward. I am the founder and the host of this sacred circle. Recently, it came into our hearts that equine leadership and Inspire Me Forward should collaborate. Equine Leadership is a publication of short stories sharing the voice and wisdom of the horse. It is now going into its 11th year. Inspire Me Forward, in its third year, is a podcast sharing stories of life and all the pieces that hold it together, even when it might feel like it is falling apart. This moment in time seemed like the perfect evolution of the two. It felt natural to invite the horses and authors from equine leadership. In this space, they will share their own unique ways of bringing the voice and wisdom of the horse to the human world. And so, this season, we will delve into that horse-human relationship and the paradigm that is the herd in Inspire Me Equine. Equine leadership has a unique vision. We believe that horses, living as close to nature as possible, can provide a paradigm of living that is clear, authentic, and heart-based. There is much to learn that is good for all of humanity, as well as the collective that we call Earth. Spending time observing and interacting with the paradigm of the horses is a move to simplify life, to connect with something profound and enlightening. Their natural way of life offers insight into our truest paths. When we step outside of the ring and into the herd, we experience a relationship of equity and compassion. So before we begin, let us take a moment to breathe, to connect our hearts with the present moment, and invite the horses to join us in this space. All right. Welcome to the present moment. I am so happy to be here, and I know the horses are here with us. And I'm so happy that you are here with us today, Michaela. I would like to introduce my guest, Michaela Slade, from across the pond from me and over in England. And Michaela, I will leave you up for a moment to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I live in the south of England, the sunnier part of England, and I look after five wonderful equines, two lovely little Shetland ponies, and three larger horses. And together, we provide a beautiful natural space that invites and welcomes people, young people and adults, to come and find connection, support, healing, therapy. Um, and yeah, I absolutely love it.
Mm, the perfect life, eh?
Oh, it really is.
Really is. Out in the field with the horses. What could be?
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
So, Michaela, you've written for our 10th anniversary edition, and
Mhm.
we are so thrilled that you did. Michaela's piece was called The Felt Sense of Connection with Horses. That felt sense, interesting, that comes up and has been coming up for years in each volume that we do of equine leadership. That felt sense keeps coming forward. There's something in that, and I'm sure that will weave itself in as we
Mm.
have our discussion. But there's a quote from it. It's actually two pieces, but I just want to read this because I think it'll connection uh, to many folks. So if I may,
Mhm.
I'm young and life feels upside down and inside out. It seems like it always has always felt this way, which endures the question, what is the point? Everything hurts. What is it all about? This, this is what it's all about here, now. The timeless continuum of now is shared with this beautiful being of presence and stillness. I'm here in my legs, arms, hands, feet, breath, heart, and soul. A sense of rhythm enters my being like a slow, deep pulse that emanates from the earth. My lungs move slowly and deeply, aligning with this rhythm. I feel him next to me, sharing space with me and my presence, guiding me into his rhythm and the rhythm of nature. I just talk about a felt sense. For me, that one is that's just I can be in that and in that
Mhm.
moment with that. And your whole piece was like that. It's just these moments of just being there with you, with the horses. So I would love to start our conversation and hand you the floor for a most memorable moment that you've had with a horse or with a herd, but something that's speaks to your that's in your heart that is a really memorable moment.
Yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, there are many. Um, and that one in particular, obviously I've carried that with me for a very, very long time. Um, but when I heard you mention that question, the first thing that really came up for me was an experience with a horse who used to be in my care. Sadly, she passed away in 2019, so she's no longer on the earthly plane. But I would just be with her in the field, just standing with her. And I think I mentioned her in the piece of writing, but not to this extent. But my heart would just open. And again, it was this felt sense, this kind of somatic experience of my heart center opening and a resonance of this really powerful, beautiful energy that I can't even put into words, but it made me cry every single time. And it was tears of joy, it was tears of love, it was just beautiful. And what I loved about being with Poppet is that I could just stand with her, and within moments we were in that connection. We were in that place together, and she would rest her head next to me, and we would just breathe and be and feel this just immense joy and love. I mean, yeah, it was just
Mhm.
it was a divine experience,
Mhm.
when you sort of look at meditation teachings and things and how, if you're connecting to that source within yourself, that divinity, there's this incredible joy. It was that. It
Mhm.
was that. It just filled me. Yeah.
Nice. I would think of that, and when you spoke that, for me, I think of it as a sense of familiarity. It's a familiar feeling that I don't necessarily know in my day to day
Hmm.
movings around, but when I get there, it's this feeling of familiar and home. And
Hmm.
then the tears come, of course, because it just feels so home.
Yeah, and I just feel that everything is open,
Yeah.
and the energy can just move through and it can just be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had an incredible energy, just
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
So much in that. What, first of all, why are horses so good at that? And you talked about meditation and we have practices that we can do, but how is it that horses can bring us there so quickly and so deeply?
They're so present just in how they live from day to day. So they connect to their environment through their senses, and their senses are probably more highly attuned than ours because, I mean, their sense of smell, for example, is stronger than ours. Their sight, being prey animals, is designed to see a much wider area. Um, their hearing is incredible. They can move their ears around and hear things from different directions and hear different things at the same time. The same as their eyes, they can see different things at the same time. So they're really in tune with their environment and
Mhm.
they're responding to whatever is happening in that present moment. Because again, as a prey animal, they need to conserve their energy for if there is something threatening in the environment. And so really their main goal most of the time is to just be at peace, to just be in this place of equilibrium where they
Mm.
can use their energy if they need to, but they'd rather not if they don't have to.
Yeah.
And so they just, yeah, they just are present, they know
Mhm.
how to be, they know how to respond and then relax again through the safety of connection with their herd members. Um, so yeah, they just have this natural ability to be. And I
Absolutely.
think actually we could probably extend that out to most animals, if not all animals.
Yes.
That really they don't have this kind of cognitive brain as
Mm.
advanced as ours that thinks about what's going to happen tomorrow or what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
They're just not concerned about that.
Yeah. And you
They're
said it
concerned
before.
about,
Well, you said it before about the wind moving things through you, and it feels like the horse is just things that we would hold,
mhm,
they let move through.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. They,
Nice. And when we get to be with or when we're with them, we get if we go that to right into our heart, we get that feeling, like that somatic feeling of, oh,
mm,
this is what it feels like to have things move through me
yes,
and not hold them. So that's beautiful. Thank you for that.
yeah.
So let's move into your story and how you got to be where you are today, and not so much as what you do today, but
Hmm.
how did you move from where you were as a child, perhaps, to where you are now?
Wow. So yeah, when I was very young, ever since I could remember, probably since the first time I ever saw a horse, I was just in love. Oh, I don't know, I can't tell you. I was just so obsessed, I would say, with horses. So I come from a very low income background, and there were siblings, and I would ask my mum and dad, please, could I go riding? Please, could I go riding? And they said it was too expensive, and that if I went, my brother and sister would want to go, and it would just cost too much money. So I wasn't able to be around horses. I wasn't able to go riding. There was a pony in the village, and if I had opportunity, I would go and just be with that pony. And that was the pony I was writing about in my
Mhm.
article. And so any opportunity, any chance, I was there. So I would write about horses, I would write stories about them, I would read about them, I would read manuals about how to look after horses. I even remember working out how long it would take me to save up for a horse on £1 a week pocket money. Because I was just so desperate to have horses in my life. And yeah, I mean, gosh, when I was very small, I used to imagine I had a horse, and she was always called Black Beauty. And as mentioned in my article, my first horse that I actually paid for was called Black Beauty. So that was quite synchronicity was at play there,
Mhm.
I think. Um, so yeah, I was just obsessed and knew that horses would be a part of my life at some point. I didn't know when or how, but I knew they would. And of course, in my teenage years, things turned upside down. My whole life was turned upside down. And the pony in the village was incredible therapy, although I didn't realize that's what was happening at the time. I look back and I think, wow, that horse came over to me and I had nothing to give that horse. I had no carrots, I had no apples, I didn't even have a brush. And I would go over to the field and he would call to me and run over and then just stand with me and he would lick my hand, like constantly lick
Wow.
my hand and just stay there with me. And it was just the most beautiful experience of connection. And when I left the village, I came back to visit him a few times, and then he did pass away. He was quite an old horse. Um, and then kind of life went on for a bit. It was very, very up and down. Um, but I decided to train as a counselor, because I initially trained as a chef,
Mm.
because I knew I could cook and I knew I enjoyed cooking. And because of my life situation, I needed to work straight away as soon as I left school. So I went into cooking, but soon realized that the job satisfaction wasn't there for me, and had done some training in a care home kitchen and loved the environment of working in a care home, and then decided to go down the route of working in social care, um, and then decided to become a counsellor. I did consider being a social worker because very early on I had a wonderful social worker. She was amazing, and she inspired me. And I thought, well, yeah, I want to do what she does. I want to help people, but soon realized that actually they have to do a lot of very difficult things. So then thought, well, actually, I like listening to people. I like being with people on a one-to-one basis. Maybe counseling is the way forward. So that's when I decided to start my training. So I had to do two A levels first because I didn't have the chance to do A levels at the normal time. So I had to do my two A levels and then go to university. So managed to do that, which was quite a journey, I can tell you. And then 5 years into my career as a counsellor, I then hear about equine therapy. And I heard about it and I just thought, wow, this is two things that I absolutely love coming together. I love counselling, I love supporting people, and I love horses. And I think I had recently at that point started learning to ride. I was in my 30s and I
Mm.
had decided that now was the time to learn to ride. I'd been given the gift of a ride for my birthday and just decided at that point, I need to do this. I need to have horses in my life. So started having riding lessons, met Poppet, started sharing Poppet, and looked into equine therapy, and the equine therapy trainings were very expensive.
Mm.
And I was not on a high income. But something inside me said, you're going to do this. You are going to do this. And I looked at the amounts, and the deposit for this particular course was £500. And I thought, I don't know how I'm going to get it, but I'm going to get that money. And lo and behold, a couple of days later, I had a tax rebate of £500. And so I put it down as a payment on the course, not knowing how I was going to raise the rest, but I thought I'm going to do it. And I did it through saving, working hard. I managed to save the rest for that training. And so that enabled me to begin my equine therapy journey. Um, yeah, and it's been quite a journey since, really, quite a sort of evolution, I would say,
Mm.
um, into really getting to know horses in their authenticity, who they are as horses,
Mhm.
getting to understand what humans tend to do in projecting their own ideas and ways of being onto horses, and actually taking a step back from that and seeing them really just as they are, um, in all their glory, really. And
Mhm.
so yeah, it's it's been quite a journey. We moved from place to place, trying to find somewhere to call home. Went to different yards and different centres, and finally in I think it was 2022, we managed to purchase a piece of land that we could call home. And since then, we have grown into a small herd of five wonderful horses. Yeah. So,
Love. So are they living outside and naturally as a herd?
yes. Yeah. Yeah. So they live on a track system,
Hmm.
and they can choose to be in or out of the shelter, but they're out all the time. Yeah,
Hmm.
and they're together all the time.
How do you find that different than, say, when you were having lessons and the horses were in a different environment? How do you find that different in the horses? You spoke something here of who they are as horses.
Mm.
How do you find that different and how they relate and how you relate to them and
Yeah, I mean the horses on a yard, on a riding yard, or they I guess they're quite squashed in terms of being able to be themselves, being able to show their personality, or even to have choice in the
Mhm.
things that they want to do. Yeah, and I guess initially, when I started riding, I wasn't really aware of any of that. But soon started to realize, especially when Star she had a foal, and I decided that I wanted to raise the foal in a natural way, in the
Mhm.
most supportive way that I could. And everybody on the yard was not agreeing with my methods, but I was like, no, 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 I'm doing this way because I want to support the horse. Um, but yeah, I guess the horses that I knew on the riding school, um, yeah, it it made me feel quite sad sometimes because they just weren't, yeah, they weren't able to choose what they did.
Mhm.
Everything was very repetitive. Um, and I guess they shut down,
Sure.
it sort of internalized,
Mhm.
and just appeared to be quite robotic.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, you've heard probably may have heard the expression push button pony.
Oh, of course, yes. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when, there's that term of breaking a horse. Well, I think you're breaking their spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
then how do you find them now, your herd now, in their ability to communicate or for us to see them in a different, how do they communicate with you in a different way or that choice that they have?
Oh, it's just wonderful. I can only tell you, it's just wonderful. So, Star, also known as Black Beauty,
Mhm.
she's a wonderful example of this because she actually came from that yard, and she was the first time I ever saw her, she was in a field, face into a corner, and it was pouring with rain, and she just looked so sad. And so, and my heart just went out to her, and I was like, I was looking for a horse, and I thought, do you know what, she's the one. And then when they told me her name, I was like, definitely, this is this is
Wonderful.
meant to be. And you could leave her untied in a yard, and she wouldn't move.
Mm,
You could sit on her back and ask her to walk, and she would walk. She would do whatever you asked her to do. But in her eyes, there was no life.
mhm,
She was not there. She was not there.
mhm,
And I thought, I need to I need to somehow be able to give her choice as a start. And whenever I held the head collar up to her, she would walk away.
mhm,
And so I started just allowing her to do that, just allowing her to walk away so that she felt that she had a choice. And then I would walk away. I wouldn't keep asking. I would just walk away from her and say, that's okay, that's fine. And then maybe another time I'd go back, hold the head collar up, she'd walk away. After a few attempts, I think she got quite curious about what was happening and started to actually accept the head collar
yeah.
and come in with me. And even now, even, even when she still accepts the head collar and still comes in, if there's even a slightest hint that she doesn't want to do that, I'll still give her that space.
Yeah.
But what's actually happened is she actually goes out of her way to communicate with me now, which is just
Mm,
wonderful. And I love how she does it. She's so funny. She say like if you're strip grazing or something, or if there's something that she wants the other side of the fence, like some apples or something, she would nudge you with her nose,
mhm.
and then she would turn her nose to point at whatever it is that she wants. And then she'll look at you dead in the eye. Like,
Yep.
and then if you don't listen, she'll do it again, but she'll nudge you harder. Like, come on.
Well, get it, human, get it.
And it just, whenever she does that, it just warms my heart because I think, how wonderful is this that she's actually going out of her way to try to reach me, to try to tell me something that she wants. And for me to get that from her, to understand that, that's connection, isn't it? It's like,
Oh, it's
w-
huge. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just so beautiful.
Eh,
Even when she says no, or when any of them say no, and you allow that no, that's them having choice. That's them having autonomy.
yeah.
That's them saying, I can't voice this, but maybe I've got a headache today and I really cannot go on that walk. Or my arthritis is really playing up and I really cannot go on that walk.
Yeah.
And another good example is, walking, again, it was Star, walking Star out of the yard, and she will turn her head like this against the rope. Now, some people might actually say that she's being naughty in inverted commas, but we'll actually say, let her show us what it is that she wants. And quite often it's just a
Mm.
drink. She wants a drink of water
Yeah.
before you go out for a walk. They can't say what it is that they want, so we
Yeah.
have to allow them to show us.
Yeah. Yeah. And make every effort to try and understand.
Yes,
It's,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Because that's a really important need that if she's thirsty, she has a drink, right?
of course. Yeah.
So, for her to ask for that and for the human not to understand that she's asking for that because we're caught up in our own agenda,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's missing a very important piece of connection and an opportunity for connection, information that she's got a need that needs to be met. It's vital that we try to pause
Yeah.
and slow down because us humans are so quick, so
Yeah.
fast. And
Well,
yeah, we just
and to have it, I think, without reason, like she's talking to you and you're listening,
hmm.
but there doesn't have to be a reason.
Yeah, yeah,
I want that apple,
yeah,
it doesn't have to be, I'm hungry. And because it's just, these are my needs in this very moment in
yes,
time. These are my needs.
yeah,
And it's without reason.
yeah,
Whereas so often we need that. And how all this translate into just human world. I can imagine what your
yeah.
clients take home is
Uh-huh.
is amazing. Just being able to, just like you say, slow down and listen
Yes.
and just and I guess be open to trying, like, oh, well, what is this you want? Oh, well, what's that? I've got a dog that does the same thing you're saying with her, with she does it with her eyes, where
Mm,
she'll look at us and she'll dart her eyes where she wants us to pay attention. And it took us a while to understand that this we have to be so still and so quiet ourselves to watch. It's
yeah.
just eye movement.
Yeah.
But she's very clear, like,
Yes.
get this puppy out of here or something. But it's very clear, but it takes time. I love that. Thank you for bringing all that up. That's so important.
And I
Mm.
think, it's almost looking like underneath the behavior as well, and like you say, not being able to know, but not needing to know necessarily. If the horse is saying, I can't do that right now, there is a good reason.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We project things on that, oh, they just don't want to, or they're naughty. No, there's a reason.
No, no.
It's their reason. I don't need to know it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a very human concept, isn't it? Being naughty or, and it's
Mm.
even if the horse is feeling quite resistant to something, it's fear that the horse doesn't have the capacity to cope with whatever it is that's in front of them. And so then it's our job to help them very slowly with that and support them with that, um, in a way that helps them build that capacity, but with support and understanding and kindness.
Yeah,
And the thing is, I strongly hold this ethos that how I interact with the herd reflects how I interact with clients and how and what I want
mm,
clients to see for themselves about having choice, about having autonomy, about being able to communicate their
yeah,
needs. Yeah. So it's such an important thing to hold, and be authentic with, you
yeah, yeah.
know.
Interesting. Yeah, you in this conversation piece here, equine leadership is about sharing the voice and wisdom of the horse.
Hmm.
But I think you've evolved me in a way through this conversation that it's not just about sharing their voice in what we need to hear, but it's sharing their voice in what we've just talked about here, that they have a voice
Yeah. Yeah.
and those little things and what I need. Like you've opened my heart to this voice of the horse is so much more. Well,
Yes.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. All right, let's move into what you do now with the horses. I'm being very cognizant right now with the words I use with horses. So I'm trying to stay a word for me. I am trying
Hmm.
to stay away from the word work
Yes.
and our work with horses. So I like to
Yeah.
ask about the space, the sacred space you share with the horses now. And what does that look like? And what might someone expect when they come to be with you in the and your herd? Uh, do you have specific demographics you work with? Are you so I'll leave that open to you to share however you
Oh.
wish.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, we do work predominantly with neurodivergent clients, young people and adults, or anyone who may have experienced trauma. We're also extremely passionate about inclusion, so we like to try and reach people who feel marginalized or excluded in some way. And as you can imagine, given my story earlier, that includes people on low incomes.
Mhm,
Because, from my own experience, opportunities are limited, and I'd like to offer or be able to offer those opportunities to people who perhaps don't have the means to access them. So
mhm,
that's something I'm very passionate about. So yeah, I mean, if someone was to come and spend time at the yard, what would happen is that we would start outside of the fence. And so we're very mindful as well that, this is the horse's home. This is where they do everything. They live there, they eat there, they sleep there, they go to the toilet there, they interact with others, they play. It's their space. And so, we're very mindful about how we enter that space and, what it's like to think about entering that space.
mhm,
And so, working at the periphery and maybe just noticing what is happening for that person as they're thinking about going into that space. And sometimes there can be some apprehension or some fear about stepping in with horses.
mhm,
And so we stay there until that individual feels resourced enough or supported enough to step into that space. All the time, we're observing the horses and watching the horses and just noticing how they're responding to the presence of the person who is with me. We're also taking in the wider environment because, the horses are part of that, what they're connected to that wider environment, and so are we. However, I think part of the work we do is helping people remember that,
yeah.
yeah, and reclaim that, that there's the horses, there's the space, but there's also the wider environment. And, sometimes in a session, you'll be focusing on something that's happening for the client. Maybe there's some activation in their system or something, and a load of crows will start cawing, and there's more energy in the environment, and there's just this resonance that kind of happens with the wider environment. And so what we're looking at really is it's from a very present moment
Yeah.
approach. So we're looking at what's happening between the client and the horses and the wider environment,
Hmm.
and checking in with the client whether they want to move into that space, and if they do move into that space, also noticing how the horses are responding to that,
Yeah.
and allowing the horses to move away if they want to move away, or to come over if they want to come over. And so it's very how can I put it? It's a very natural process.
Yeah.
I don't have a structure to sessions other than to do a what we call orientation practice at the beginning, which helps the person to land in that space and land within themselves, and to
Hmm.
get a sense of where they're actually at. And then at the end of the session, there's another orientation practice just to help the person come back to where they are, because quite often in the session, what can happen is they can go on quite a journey of process and experience in their system. And so they just need to come back to where they are so that they can leave feeling nicely grounded and supported and safe.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, I mean, some of the things I've witnessed in sessions are just incredible, where a client is holding something in themselves and the horse is responding to that on an energy level.
Hmm.
It's just it's magical for the client, but it's even more magical for me to witness it and be a part
Hmm.
of that. Um, yeah, I mean, watching one of the horses choose to lean into somebody and just provide them with some comfort, and yeah, it's those little moments.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we said, I think the other day I was talking to another author, and it said we can explain so much of it with science,
Yes,
but there's triple that is magic.
yeah,
And we
yeah,
just, there is no, we can't. And why do we need to explain it? It
yeah,
just
yeah.
is, and it is so magical.
It's difficult to explain. It's actually difficult to put into words, I find, because of the felt sense element.
Hmm.
And that felt sense, it's just so difficult to put into words because it's a felt experience. You know, when you see a client stood in the field and the horses have arranged themselves around that client,
Hmm.
and they're just stood there for what feels like forever, just experiencing that energy, that connection, that support, the feeling of acceptance, which can be, something that some of my clients experience for the first time in that space,
Yeah. Oh.
And for me, as a therapist, I've done done the training, learned all the theories and all that stuff. But as Carl Jung would say, at the end of the day, it's just human to human.
Hmm.
It's just, for me, there is all of that, but actually it's about this. It's about the heart. It's about
Yeah.
presence. It's about being. Yeah, I just think it always comes back to that.
Yeah.
And part of my kind of mission, if you
Hmm.
like, is to work with the what I call the undomestication of people. Um, so I'm kind of looking at our herd, and they're domesticated, right? They are domesticated.
Hmm.
But within that kind of setting, within that limitation, my role is to provide them with conditions that enable them to be as much of their natural selves
Yeah.
as possible.
Yeah.
So it's my responsibility to try to replace the things that domestication has taken away. Yeah, all of those things that nature knows to do to support their well-being, like all the plants that they can access, the movement across, for miles and miles, all of those things that, the branches grinding down their teeth and the stones wearing down their hooves, all of those things are taken away. And so we have to replace them.
Yeah.
And so, I try my best to do that, to allow them to be as well as they can be, but also to be as natural as they can be. And so
Mhm.
I also kind of, again, have this kind of parallel with people that, especially in today's world, that there is a need. We run these well-being groups, holistic well-being groups, and people come in and they have this kind of wonderful experience. I love facilitating them because it's just beautiful seeing people just come down from this really highly activated place into a place of like complete relaxation. They just go really soft and sometimes they go to sleep. And then at the end of it, they're like, wow, I really needed that. And I always say to them, exactly, this is what we need. This is what we as humans need to be doing. We need
Mhm.
to be learning from horses, from nature, from animals about how to be ourselves again. How to live in this kind of structure, this domestication that we're in, but also find places where we can be undomesticated, where we can be more of our wild, natural selves. And I think nature and horses and animals, they are our teachers in that.
Absolutely. And I love how you've undomestication of people. And that there is how dare I say it, a movement afoot of that. Because there's
Yes.
different people I've talked to and groups I belong to and collectives that are all speaking
Yeah.
to that and the
Yeah.
healing of both worlds
Yeah.
because the people are recognizing that is this domestication and this dominance. And when we step back to that. But you've also said something there that really that, and I know I had this conversation with another author, is this ability for us as humans to live in both worlds
Mm.
and to be
Yes.
able to come to that world and take what we can or need from it. I don't mean take, but for ourselves, what lessons have we
Mm.
learned and bring that back into that domesticated world that we live in. And how do we, especially yourselves as teachers and facilitators, how do you live in both worlds? So that might a
Yeah.
question to you. How do you live in both worlds?
Spending time in both.
I'm just there.
Making sure that, my life isn't taken over by the whole kind of system, the structure that we live in, but that I make sure there is time and space for me to not be in that, for me to be in the openness of nature, to allow myself to just be myself. Meditation practice, walking. I do loads of walking. Um, yeah, just being in there in nature is
Mhm.
so important. Engaging with nature, supporting nature. Um, I feel actually it's a resource for us to then be able to go engage in the more domesticated side of things.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and there's something about, when we are caught in that domestication and that cycle, that kind of hamster on the wheel scenario, you know, a part of us gets lost. A very important part of us gets lost.
Mhm.
And, my invitation is to invite people off of the hamster wheel just for a day, just come for a day and
Mhm.
know what it's like to not be caught up in that and to be able to breathe and to be able to be and to be able to see the world around you.
Mhm.
I think there's something about just noticing what is around you.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
agree.
it's a it's a resource. Being in
Absolutely.
nature is a huge resource. If I couldn't go and be in nature, I would really struggle. In fact, I'm going to London for a week next week. And after a couple of days, I'm always like, where are the birds?
Where's
Where's
the
the
grass?
grass? Oh no, I want to see my horses.
Yeah, it doesn't take long
Oh,
to need it.
no, no.
Yeah. I call it these days as the overwhelm epidemic. That
Yeah.
we're just
Oh,
that
absolutely.
hamster
Yeah.
wheel is that we're just everywhere we look and information changes so fast and it's just
Mm-hmm.
there's just this overwhelm that people are
Mm,
feeling and to be able
mm,
to step away from that just for a bit and
yeah.
then somehow like you say where's the grass just find some grass
Mm,
in
yeah.
their lives and just go stand on that and
And
it's
one thing I love is connected to what you said earlier, is that, this kind of sense of overwhelm, I kind of look at like a collective nervous system.
yes.
Yeah, it's like this huge sense of everything going into activation, maybe even elements of shutdown, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm kind of noticing that, and people get quite concerned, they feel quite hopeless, or what are we going to do? We don't have any power. But actually, on the flip side, as you say, there is this huge movement rising up,
Yeah,
where that you got the difficulty, I'm thinking yin and yang here.
yeah.
You've got the dark, you've got the light, but if the dark is increasing, so is the light. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
And the brighter the light, the darker the shadow, and vice versa, it's
yeah, yeah,
so we can easily get sucked in through the news and things into what's going on in the world and feel very dark about it. But actually, there are so many wonderful good things happening too.
yeah,
It's just about shifting that attention and kind of going, okay, so this is happening. This is going to support us through this difficult stuff that we're experiencing as well.
yeah. I like the shift. I like how you say that.
And also what you were saying as well about this kind of domestication, how to be in both. I mean, the horses do it, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
And they do it with such grace. They really do. They're
yeah.
just so accepting and so willing. They give their heart to that situation, even though, they'd probably long to be on the plains or whatever. But
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, they they're
yeah.
just incredible, aren't they? They're incredible examples of how to live in both worlds.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. I never thought of that in that way. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, do you have maybe a client story, names withheld or changed, but do you have a client story you could maybe share with us?
Yeah, I think,
One or two.
yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to think which one I might share. Yeah. Yeah, because there's a few. Um,
Take
one
your
in
time.
particular, one in particular actually has been happening. It's been a real journey, actually, a real transition. Um, for a number of years, we've been working together, and without sharing too much detail, their journey has just been life-changing, literally life-changing. As a later diagnosed autistic person, and it to be able to be a part of that journey and watching this person through the acceptance and the support of the herd, because that was their first experience of acceptance, was with the herd, not from people, because people had caused too much trauma in their life. And just being with the horses, being outside as well, being in the environment, not being stuck in a room, um, was just so supportive for them to be able to actually emerge into their true identity, and also to be able to be fully themselves. And one of the things that really, really touched me, among many actually, about this particular piece of work was that they actually felt that they could stim with the horses. It was something that had been oppressed before. They hadn't been allowed to do it before. But in that space, for the first time, they felt they could really just express themselves however they needed to, support themselves however they needed to. Um, and actually, this person did a wonderful illustration of their journey, their life journey, and did it creatively and brought it to show me. And the horses were there.
Mm.
There was them with 5 horses around them, and then just all these flowers and things just expressing all of the joy and the acceptance that they felt
Mhm.
as part of their process. And that really moved me. That really did move me. Um, yeah, and yeah, it's been, I have to say, to walk with people alongside the horses is a privilege. It's an honor and a privilege.
Mhm.
And I fully respect anyone who's willing to do that journey.
Mhm.
And I fully respect the horses, and I'm forever grateful to them for who they are,
Yeah.
because that's all I ask of them when they come to live with me is you just need to be yourself. You don't need to be anything else. You don't need to be ridden. You don't need to do tricks or
Nothing.
perform certain things. You just need to be yourself. And one of my little ponies, Tigger, he'd really struggled actually. He'd had 4 homes in 4 years. He's a miniature Shetland, and I think some homes perhaps had the intention that he would be a child's pony, but he's extremely sensitive
Mhm.
and had some early trauma in his life. And I knew of him for many years, and the charity called me and said that he was coming home, and I said, could I have him? And they said, well, he needs to have a home for life because we cannot have him moving around, moving around. It's really unsettling for him. I said, no problem. Absolutely. I said, because all he needs to be is himself. I don't
Mhm.
want him to do anything else. And so he came to live with us, and it took him about 2 years actually
Yeah.
to really start to settle down. It was almost like he was thinking, well, a year has gone. I'm okay. I'm okay. I can start
I'm
to
safe
find my
again.
feet. I can start to settle. And he's just wonderful. He's just wonderful. He's the most beautiful, beautiful little pony inside and out. And we absolutely adore him. And
Oh,
yes, he does have a home for life. And
absolutely. Yeah.
that's something that I like to try to offer to the horses in my care is that they're here as long as they want to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Two things about authenticity and one thing that came up the other day in a conversation is that the horses feel the pressure of expectation.
Do they feel the
Well,
pressure?
yeah, they do. In these
Yes.
domesticated situations, there
Mm-hmm.
is a
Mm-hmm.
pressure of expectations of them. Like the pony was to be a child's pony, and there
Yes,
was a
yes.
pressure in that
Yeah,
expectation that was
absolutely.
just that didn't match the personality.
Yeah,
So there's this pressure that they feel. And so to be able to take that pressure off for yourself, what you're doing, and go, there's no pressure for you. You can be you.
exactly. Exactly.
And what
Yeah.
perfect environment and space for then a human to step into and go, you can be you.
Yes.
Because that's all we've ever asked of the herd is to just be themselves. And as somebody said the other day, the horses then look and go, there you are.
Yes.
There you are. I see you. Because they just everybody in that space is just they're just allowed to be themselves. And what greater joy,
Yes.
you know,
Absolutely.
to be that
Absolutely.
and you to be able to hold the space, but also to bear witness
Yes.
without
Yeah.
expectation. But
Yeah.
as shared in your client story there, just to bear witness to that
Yeah.
is
Oh, it's beautiful, and it's an honor. It really is, and also to witness the horses' journeys. From how they are when
mhm.
they arrive to how they are now. And you can see them like visibly relax and just kind of go, ah, I can just be myself.
Yeah.
And one of our horses, he really did have some difficult trauma very early in his life, and he was rescued. And it's been a real journey with him from arriving to our place, really terrified, scared of what was going to happen to him, I can imagine, to where he is now, where he kind of nickers to me when I arrive. And oh, I can feel his heart. He's just got such a beautiful heart. And oh, I just how that relationship has evolved through understanding, reassurance,
Mhm.
support. Like, he'll kind of go, I'm not sure about this. And you're like, it's okay, it's okay. And then you just
Mhm.
wait for him to hear that it's okay and settle down. And if he doesn't quite get that it's okay, you leave it alone. You don't keep pushing. Just
Mhm.
allow him to, it's been, gosh, he's been with me since 2019, and it's taken
Mhm.
probably up until this last year for us to
Wow.
really find that place together through lots of just taking lots of time and being very
Mhm.
patient with each other. Me having to be patient with myself, him having to be patient with me, and
Mhm.
me having to be patient with him too, and just kind of go, okay, yeah, he's struggling. Let's take the pressure off and move away and let him settle down.
Mhm.
Because he's had to really find a sense of safety.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not been easy for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's some time, but it's yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So connection.
Mm.
That we've all that everything in here is connection. But can you speak to? We talked about the felt sense of connection, or even just connection. What I'd love to just explore that for a moment in what we've been speaking of.
Yeah, so I feel that connection is about awareness of the other. It's about noticing the other and then noticing you. And something you said earlier, about when they say, "Oh, there you are,"
Mm,
that moment often occurs for me when I've slowed right down, and then connection is possible because I'm not caught up in my head rushing around thinking about all the jobs I got to do, but I'm actually just there. And it's like the horses can really see you then.
yeah.
They can really feel you. And when you're rushing around thinking about, what you've got to do, they probably just experience this really high energy. They don't really see you.
Mm,
And yeah, for me, it's always and when you said that, and there you are, that the when that happens, when they really see you, it's like it's like they can look into your soul, something happens where you're just
mm,
like, you really get this, don't you? You
yeah, yeah.
And it's just beautiful to have that witness by the horse, to know that the horse feels you, experiences you, and still wants to stand with you,
Mm,
still wants to be there, doesn't walk away necessarily. Sometimes they do. But when they don't, and they're still there with you in all that you're holding, all that you're being,
mm,
it's just amazing.
yeah,
And actually, if I can do that for them too, as I was saying with Reggie,
yeah,
through all his difficulty, to kind of say, hey, I'm here. I'm not going to push you. I'm not going to, you know,
yeah,
try to ask you anymore, but I'm just going to be here with you.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, um, there's something very, very powerful in that.
Yeah. I mean,
For me, there's no doing in connection.
no,
There's no doing.
no.
we can maybe groom a horse and feel that that's connection, but that's physical connection.
Yeah.
That's contact.
Yeah. Yeah.
That we need to think about and ask the question, does the horse want that contact?
Yeah. Are you
Is that
watching?
my need or the horse's need? And I'm sure that's something that comes up quite often, when we talk about physical connection. But actually for the horse or the horses in my care, just being in their space is connection.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
sharing that space, sharing that energy field
Yeah.
is connection. And it's connection without
Yeah.
expectation if there's no physical contact. I wonder if in the physical contact there is that kind of sense of I'm getting something from this. I don't know, maybe,
Yeah. Well, how many times do people, folks come to the horses and ex the touch
yeah,
is the expectation, and if the
yes,
touch
yes.
isn't received, then there's, oh, they don't like, we go through this shame and blame, and
Hmm.
they go through this whole iteration of personal
Yes,
to come out the other side and realize that connection is not touch.
yes,
It could be, but
yeah,
it's just bearing witness. It's
yeah,
just being.
yeah. And in fact, when we welcome people onto the yard, we send out some preliminary information that asks them to not approach the horses and touch them,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
to wait until we've talked about the horses and what the plan of the day is and how we might invite that with the horses.
Mhm.
Um, because I think that's really important because otherwise people do arrive and start stroking noses and things, and you can see the horses moving their heads away, and it's like, oh no. Yeah.
I think one of the most beautiful moments or experiences I had was being able to go to the New Forest and
Oh,
take some folks with us, and you weren't allowed to touch. You weren't
hmm.
allowed to approach. You weren't allowed to touch. And we spent the day observing
Yeah.
these, I would say, semi-feral
Yes.
herds and follow them at quite the distance to walk their paths. And I love the paths that they made. And somebody told us afterwards they're the architects of the land.
Mm,
And it was amazing. It was an amazing day. And we were connected, but there was no touch allowed. It
yes.
wasn't, even if they approached us, we were to move away.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was, yeah, there is something deeper on the other
Hmm.
side of it.
And in fact, you're just reminding me that for the last couple of days with one of my horses, Mr. Darcy, I've been walking alongside him and matching the rhythm of the walking and just really being with him in that and watching how he slows down to match my rhythm and how I might speed up to match his rhythm. But there's this kind of little dance going on between us of like, he might speed up, so then I speed up, or I might slow down, so he slows down, and that's
Oh,
connection. And actually, this is how one of the ways that horses do connect, as a herd, is that there's
mm,
that element of synchrony that
yeah,
happens when they graze together, when they move together, so that if they have to run together, they can run together without, hurting each other, but they
yeah,
can run as one, and that's connection.
yeah, yeah. Interesting. Oh, I love these rich conversations. I
Yeah.
love them. So, as we bring this episode to a close, I have one final question, and that is, what is in your heart that wishes to be shared before we close the gate?
Oh, goodness. I'm trying to think what that might be. So, I mean, at the moment, I'm just feeling so much joy for the role that I play, in facilitating these wonderful connections and interactions. I'm full of joy and gratitude and just think, wow, to to be on this path, on this journey is just amazing. And yeah, I've got full respect and honor for the horses and everything that they bring. All the horses that are in this kind of role, um, all throughout the world, and I'm so glad that this is expanding, that this awareness of how to be with horses, how to be in nature, how to really understand the needs of another without projecting our ideas onto them. I just think it can only be a good thing. It's just wonderful to see horses being with in the way that they should be. Um, yeah, and my hope also is that this extends to all animals, all of
Yes.
nature, both wild and domesticated. Um, yeah, and there's a lot of growth yet to happen there, but I believe it's happening. It is
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. There
So,
isn't no growth.
no,
There is
exactly,
growth there.
exactly.
Absolutely.
And there's room for more, and it's just going to keep expanding.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
you've come a long way since that little pony in town.
Yes.
It's almost like that little pony was setting you up for all of this. So
Oh,
I know where you're
absolutely.
going to end up,
I
and I'm going
know.
to
I
start you
know.
off right. And that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Oh, thank you, Michaela, for being with me today.
That's
I
okay. It's been a pleasure.
loved our conversation. And
Yes.
thank you all for joining us in circle in whatever moment in time that you are listening to this. I hope you are inspired by Michaela, by the horse, by the herd, by the connection. And I will put a link to Michaela's story from Equine Leadership in our summaries, as well as any website and contact information that she has. There's a number of ways you can stay tuned and inspired with us. We have an Inspire Me Forward a Facebook page, as well as an Equine Leadership page. And I'll put all of the links to those as well. And one thing I ask is please consider sharing this episode, or as we like to say, share it forward. You just never know when someone needs to hear the words that were shared in this sacred circle. And sharing one story might be the very thing another human needs to open their hearts to a brighter future for them and for us all. So please consider sharing this. So thank you for being with us. From my heart to yours, stay well, stay connected, and stay inspired.